Namaste and welcome again to day 2 of Awaken Your Creative Spirit. In this session, I'm going to call this more of a discussion and expression, whereas yesterday was more like a discussion and reflection. So today we're actually going to be sharing some discussion, some thoughts that I'll share with you, and then we'll actually move into an expression. We'll actually move outside to my gazebo for the second half of this class. So thank you for being here. So what I'd like to introduce to you is the physics concept or phenomenon of resonance. We have used this word in our language, in our vocabulary. Probably all of us have used it, and we say things like, hey, that really resonates with me, or that doesn't resonate with me. Well, what does it actually mean? Well, we say it casually in conversation. I think what we're trying to say is that that thing is either aligned with me or not. Hey, what you're saying there, I kind of go along with it, that resonates. Or I disagree with it, so that does not resonate with me. Well, what's interesting is that there is an actual phenomenon in physics. Resonance is an actual phenomenon in physics. And this is basically what it is. When something is in resonance with us, it has to do with the frequency at which that thing or idea or energy is vibrating. And that frequency is in some way resonating with the frequency at which we are vibrating. So to explain that a little bit is we inherently have to go into the science of quantum mechanics and quantum physics. What is quantum mechanics and quantum physics? As you know, we at Space of Love really love using science to sort of explain spirituality and our purpose and our purpose here in life. So what is quantum physics? Quantum physics is really the study of, you could say, the science of how things work, how the universe works. Why? Because quantum physics actually studies the particles, the subatomic particles, the size of an atom or smaller, to see how they behave so that we can understand how the universe works. Because the entire universe is made of atoms. Everything that we see is made of atoms. You and I are made of atoms. Everything, this camera that I'm speaking into, is made of atoms. Whether you're organic, alive, or innate or inert, you're made of atoms. And every atom in the universe is actually vibrating. There isn't an atom, even if it's frozen, there is a vibration. And we have been able to actually measure the frequency at which things vibrate. There are instruments that we can actually go up to a rock and measure what the standing wave frequency of that rock is. They can actually measure a frequency. So like this, you can imagine anything that we see, anybody that shows up, any item that appears in our realm of reality has a vibration. And so where does resonance play a role? Well, the best way that I have found to explain this is a thought experiment. So if you know what a tuning fork is a metal instrument that looks like a fork, looks like this. And if you hit it, it makes a note. It makes a sound at a certain note. Each note in the music world, we have notes. Each note is actually an actual frequency. So they have tuning forks. The purpose of a tuning fork is, let's say I have a guitar and I want to tune my guitar. I can play a tuning fork. Let's say I need to tune my D string. I find a tuning fork that is a D tuning fork. It's marked D. And when I hit it, it vibrates. And that vibration causes sound waves in the air at a certain frequency. And that frequency leads to a sound at a certain pitch that we call D. So we hear that D, and then I take my guitar and I actually tune my string to match that of that pitch. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that my D string resonates with that of the tuning fork. So that's what a tuning fork is. Now, imagine you're in a room, we're in this room, and in this room there are 1,000 tuning forks, and all of the tuning forks are of a different note. So one is an A, one is A sharp, one is D, one is C. They're all of different notes. And by that I mean, they're all have a different atomic structure. They're made differently. so that when you hit each one, it has a different note and a different frequency at which it vibrates. But in this room, there's 1,000 tuning forks, and all of them except 2 of them are different. So they're all different, except there's only 2 of them that are same. They're the same note. Let's call that note C. So in this room, again, there's 1,000 tuning forks. They're all different. One's A, one's D, whatever, but there's 2 tuning forks that are both C, okay? What would happen is if you went into this room and if you actually hit the first tuning fork, C, the C, the one that there's only 2 of, the sound waves would carry through that room, reach the other tuning fork, and that tuning fork would automatically, magically start to vibrate and make sound. This is actually done in physics labs. You can actually do this. So what's interesting is that you do something to one object in the room, and all of a sudden it has an effect on another object in that same room, but not to the other 998 objects. So interestingly, these 2 tuning forks have the same standing wave frequency. Their frequencies match, they resonate, and because they resonate, the only thing that exists in this room for them is the other tuning fork, whereas the truth is, and they don't see the other tuning forks, whereas the truth is that there's 998 other tuning forks in the room. So let's replace the word tuning forks with reality. So there's 998 realities in the room, but each tuning fork these 2 tuning forks are only resonating with one version of the reality. If, however, this tuning fork can change its frequency to that of D, it will then resonate with the other D in the room and change its reality, because there are 998 other realities to choose from depending on which vibration the source is vibrating at. So this is the concept of resonance, and this is in fact the way reality and this universe works. The truth is that anything and everything that manifests in our lives, a person that shows up, a song that shows up, an object that shows up, is showing up because we are vibrating at a frequency that resonates with that object or sound or our creation. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it fascinating to understand, and this is really the point of this whole exercise really, is to understand that we have a real strong effect on our reality. And our intentions and the way in which we choose to vibe actually affects what we resonate with and what manifests in front of our lives. So another thing that I'd love talking about is the story of water, how water behaves. Now, water, again, is another thing that's made of atoms. So, and what's really interesting to understand is that our bodies are made entirely almost of water. So not too long ago, there was a Japanese scientist, a pseudoscientist, actually a businessman, who studied water, and his whole philosophy was that human consciousness could affect the molecular structure of water. His name is Masaru Emoto, and I encourage you to look him up. What he did was he actually placed this water from the same source so that it's all fair in different test tubes or vases. And what he did was he had different energies or intentions surround each different beaker of water, let's call it. So again, he took water from the same source, let's call it a river, and he had that same water in, let's say, 4 different cups in 4 different rooms. And in room 1, he had Mozart playing around this water. In another room, he had the words, "I will kill you," playing around the water. In another room, he had love, and that intention around that water. Whether it was people exuding that energy or it was just a beautiful song, let's say Imagine by John Lennon, he did a lot of experiments. And inevitably, what he did was, after exposing these beakers of water to a sustained period of time of these various different energies, he actually studied the crystals of the water under a microscope. And I'm sharing a screen with you here. Some of these images, as you can see, Wherever there was a projection of love and harmony, there was symmetry in the crystals. And wherever you see a projection of anything negative or hate or anger, you see that it's not symmetrical and fractured. Very interesting. It just simply shows that an intention around the atoms of this water is changing whether there is symmetry and harmony within the molecular structure of the water molecule. And we are made almost entirely of water. So no wonder when we have people around us that are complaining or are like not making us feel good, that we molt, that we don't like it. It makes sense, doesn't it? So it's so important to understand the power of the intention, the power of how much we can change our own reality by simply thinking a certain way, by simply sending an intention a certain way towards all the millions and millions of water molecules in our body. Isn't that fascinating? And we're going to go outside soon and start some vocal toning exercises. But before we do that, I want to kind of go back to diving into the atom again. Another really fascinating fact, an atom is made of a nucleus and electrons and protons that sort of rotate or revolve around it. Just kind of like the sun and our solar system. There's the sun, and there's all this empty space, and then a planet that revolves around it, and then all this empty space and a planet that revolves around it, right? So an atom is like that. There's the nucleus, and there's all this empty space, and then there's an electron. Well, how much empty space? Well, if we were to enlarge the size of an atom and make the nucleus of an atom the size of a pea, let's say I was holding a pea, the closest electron would be, and the pea was at the center of a football stadium, the closest electron would be outside the football stadium. And in between that is literally nothing, is the vacuum of space, is nothing. Think about that. And we are made entirely of atoms. So if we are made entirely of atoms, and 99.99% of an atom is nothing, is empty space, what are we? This is a scientific fact, and it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. This is what we are. We are essentially, and in fact, all of reality is essentially a vibration, a potential vibration. And when we go outside, I'll share a very beautiful, powerful quote that really helps me understand this. There's something even more fascinating about the way the subatomic world works. You know, as you can see, I can actually talk about this for hours, but I'm really trying to share with you some highlights that really get us to think. So an experiment that scientists have done is there are these guns essentially that shoot electrons. They're not real guns that shoot bullets, they shoot electrons. And you can have these guns shoot electrons at a certain piece of paper or certain, whatever, an object, okay? And so they just kept shooting these electrons just to simply see where on the piece of paper these electrons land. It's a little bit more intricate than that, but I'm trying to simplify it. So they're shooting these electrons, nobody's in the room, and after they've done a sequence of shoots, and they've gone into the room, seen the piece of paper, and seen that the electrons are, you know, more often than not doing the same thing. They're hitting the same area, so there's like a cluster of like dots where the electron hit. Well, what they did next was they left it exactly the same way, except in the room they simply put a camera that was on and recording. Just that, a camera, same thing, camera was on and recording it. And then they left, they did the shoot, they made it fire the electrons, they came back into the room, and all of a sudden the dots were all spread out. Instead of in a cluster, they were starting to act differently by simply having a camera in the room. This is mesmerizing, and from this comes the idea of the observer. And this is where the scientists actually say that the act of observing and actually looking at something, it changes reality. In other words, it kind of goes back to the theory of the tuning fork, where there's all these potentials around vibrating, but actually choosing to observe one thing is the thing that makes that idea and turns it into reality. So simply the act of being mindful and present with something actually changes the way atoms behave subatomically. Another fascinating truth about the subatomic world, which is what we're all made of. So follow me. Let's go outside. Let's go into a bit of nature and let's do some vocal toning exercises. See if we can shift the standing wave frequency of our own atoms in our body. Let's do this. Boy, does that ever feel good, singing, expressing myself with my voice. So here at Space of Love, we believe that vibration is actually the most efficient way of carrying or transporting intention. So I'd like to sort of start by introducing a quote by somebody that I admire so much. His name is Albert Einstein. And it has to do with vibration and matter. This is how it goes. Concerning matter, we have all been wrong. What we have called matter is energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter, said Albert Einstein. And so today we'll talk about that. We'll talk about vibration. We'll talk about Nada Yoga. Nada Yoga is the yoga of sound and vibration, and it's actually one of the 6 categories of yoga that exist. Another one being Hatha Yoga, which we're familiar with, which is the yoga of the physical asanas and physical shape of the body. There's Raja Yoga, which is yoga of the mind. Jnana Yoga, which is yoga of knowledge and study. Karma Yoga, yoga of selfless activities for help. And there's Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion. So today it's about Nada Yoga, the yoga of vibration and healing through sound. So did you know that our body has around 72,000 energy pathways, or nadis? Nadis is another word in Hindi or Sanskrit for rivers. There's pathways in our body through which prana or life force flows. And Nada Yoga, also known as sound healing, is one of the ways that we use to actually clear these pathways so that the life force and nutrients or energy flows evenly through our bodies, through all our organs. And one of the ways we believe to invite this vibration into our systems is to sing, is to use music, is to actually express ourselves. And one of the things we believe here at Space of Love is a soul that doesn't express through voice and through dance is like a flower that doesn't bloom. So we really encourage everyone to find their own voice, to find the confidence and the self-love to actually express through singing, through dance, through music, through expression this way. And one of the things that is a misconception in the world is that people are tone deaf. I hear this a lot, is that I can't sing, I'm tone deaf. Everyone tells me I'm tone deaf. Well, scientifically speaking, that's a very, very small percentage of the human population. Less than 1% is actually tone deaf, because if you're tone deaf, you don't have the ability to have balance because of the fluids in your ear. So people who are actually tone deaf would have a hard time walking. So if you can walk and if you convince yourself that you're tone deaf, that's inaccurate. It's just a block that you're living with. And so here we try to unblock those things and to allow expression to flow through us. So with this in mind, today we're going to actually do a couple of exercises which will invite this practice of using our voice to actually create vibration in our bodies to invite healing. You see, bringing it back to Einstein's quote, everything in the universe, every object has vibration. You can actually measure its frequency. So each frequency of vibration has a certain intention behind it, or ability, let's call it. You can probably hear this note throughout me speaking this past few minutes. This is the note C, and it actually has a frequency. So we're going to be starting with this, and these exercises will actually align the notes to our energy centers, which we call chakras or chakras. So we'll start with that. So although the belief is that there's actually an infinite amount of energy centers that go along our spine, we have actually divided them into seven chakras. Coincidentally, there are 7 notes in a scale. And so that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to actually go up and down our scale with different vocal toning exercises. And so basically I'll show you how it's done and we just repeat it together. But before we begin, I'll invite us to bring in the note as a reference, as I am doing now. And the easiest way to do it is I just found an app called a Tanpura, or you can even use a harmonium or a piano or a guitar and start playing the note C, which is this note. So to warm up for the first exercise, we will stay at C. We will stay at this note, but focus on the different energy centers. And we'll start with the root chakra, which is around here. It's the Muladhara chakra, and we use the note C, or 256 hertz, for it. And we usually refer to this chakra as having a very grounding energy, and we associate with the color red. So I invite us to straighten our spines, to roll back our shoulders, close our eyes, and to sing the sound Lam, which is actually the mantra of this chakra. So, closing our eyes 7 times. Lam. Deep inhale. Lam. Inhale. Lam. Do this along with me. Lam. 3 more times. Moving up to the sacral chakra, the Swadhisthana chakra, we're going to keep the same note C. And a later exercise will increase or change the pitch, but for now we're going to keep the same note C. And this time, if we can imagine the color of orange, because this is a chakra that we associate with life energy. And the sound of the sound that we're going to sing is Vam. This time I invite us, the end of the Vam, to hold the vibration of the and feel that vibration in our bodies. So again, 7 times, straight spine. Inhale. Feeling that vibration inside. Moving up to the navel, the Manipura chakra is a very powerful one because we actually associate this with the energy of fire, power. So the sound here is Ram. Again, we're keeping the same note 7 times. Inhale. Ram. Sing along. Three more times. Moving up to the heart chakra, the Anahata chakra. Surprisingly, this has got the energy of love and compassion, sounds of wind, and the sound and the song that we sing with this is yum, yum. Again, I invite you to do this with me 7 times, holding the vibration at the end. Inhale, yum. Three more times, picturing green light. Moving up to the throat chakra, the Vishuddhi chakra, the energy of creation and communication, of course. And the sound that we sing here is hum. Straight spine, 7 times. Deep inhale. What's really interesting about this chakra is that one of the sounds, or the shabds that we associate this is the sound of crickets. And as I was doing this, all I can hear is the crickets. I don't know if you can as well. Moving up to the Ajna, the eye chakra, the energy that we associate with this is, of course, wisdom and thought. And the sound and the song that we sing with this is Sham. So, deep inhale. Sham. Last but certainly not least, the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, the Sahasrara chakra. And we associate this with transcendence, and we're very familiar with this mantra, Om. So we'll do this 7 times as well. Om. Deep inhale. Om. Really feel that vibration on the I tell you, just doing that, I already feel so aligned and so centered and calm. What we've done is essentially introduced vibration in our cells and our atoms of our body, and everything, when you vibrate it, it settles. You know, when you kind of vibrate something and you dustpan or something, everything settles, and that's exactly what's happening in me. And so now we'll actually move on to the next exercise. This exercise, what we do is we actually introduce different frequencies. So we've only been working with C, 256 hertz. Now we're going to introduce different frequencies. So the vibrations in our systems are going to be a higher frequency, lower frequency. They're going to vary. And what I'd like to do is invite you to actually add the element of intention now with the vibration. So instead of just vibrating, now add an intention to it, because remember we said that vibration is the most efficient way of transporting intention. So by intention I mean I want to feel calm. So as we say or sing what we're singing, we sing calm, or we think calm, I want to feel calm, or I want to feel healing for someone else. Add the intention to it. So again, we're going to align our chakras with these sounds. I'm going to introduce easier sounds so that we don't have to remember them. And we're going to go up the scale. So we're going to start with singing. We'll do that. And what I'd like to do is actually to help guide us when we're first starting is to use this harmonium or app or whatever and actually go up the notes, and I'll guide us through that. So starting with the root chakra again, the sound we'll associate with this is and this is the note. Next up, the sacral. As you can hear, the note is a bit higher. Whereas previously it was and now it's so it's back to root. One more note up, the navel. Oh, the sound is O. Oh, oh, oh. So far we have ooh, oh, ooh, oh, moving up to the anahata, the heart. Ah, the sound is ah, as in ma. Ah, ah. to the throat, the Vishuddhi. The sound is I. The Ajnana third eye. The sound is A. Next up, the crown. Sound E. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have some fun and actually combine all of these notes and sing the scale one note after another. And so we'll do this 7 times. So the first couple of times we'll do each note 4 times so you can follow along with me. So it'll be like this. Lam, 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 bam, 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 bam. Ram, 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 yam, 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 yam. Hum, 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 sham, 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 sham. Om, 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 lam, 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 lam. Lam, 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 bam, 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 bam. Ram, 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 yam, 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 yam. Hum, 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 hum. Sham, 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 sham. Om, 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 om. Lam, 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 lam. So we'll do the rest 4 times without a guitar, just on our own. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, sham, om, lam. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, sham, om, lam. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, sham, om, lam. I really invite you to do this because this is where you actually find your expression. It's the way you bloom. Meander along this frequency. Try humming, try oohing, try eyeing, try your form of expression. Find your love for yourself. Find your way of blossoming your truth. And so, what I'd like us to do is for the next 10 minutes, free flow in your own space, in your own privacy, and just play, 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 play. There will be a counter as usual on the bottom right, and I'll see you in 10 minutes. know this may seem cheesy, but this is the point. It's important to get past these blocks. It's important to find your expression, or else you're a soul, you're a flower that never blooms. And this is our message at Space of Love to each being out there. So with that, I leave you. I love you. Namaste.